Here's Kim Tan lugging bags on his hand, shopping with his fiance, and she's happy. She's like, "Thank you so much for spending all this time with me. It's it's not all about the presents and the money and things. It's about you spending time with me and whatnot." And he was like, the only reason he's like, "I don't mind. I like going shopping with you because everything else would feel like a date." Boom! He does not like you, girl. Like, and she was like all happy for a second, and now she's like, oh. I think it's so good that he said that. So good. So her heart was just happy because he went shopping with her, and he's like, it's because it's not a date. Boom! Over. The happiness is gone, Rachel. I do not like you. This is what you get. And then, of course, she's like, so Eun-sung's gone, right? Why does she feel the need to bring her up? Like, it's so pathetic, so insecure. I mean, I would be insecure if I was her because obviously your fiance does not like you. He's using you. But this argument debate is interrupted by Young-doo telling her to change her flight last minute so he doesn't have to pick her up and he doesn't want to deal with calling her again. Now, Kim Tan's like, oh, you're talking to Young-doo? And she ends up saying, like, oh, yeah, by the way, we're going to become step-siblings and whatnot. And he asks, how is he and whatnot. So it seems like Kim Tan cares. And I feel like everyone's dissing him. Like his brother's dissing him, Young-doo. Is Kim Tan the only victim here? Did he do something bad? Because Chan-young doesn't like him. I want to know why. What's the reason? Tell me. Tell me now. So Rachel's trying to smooth things over and saying like, oh, are you hungry? I'm hungry. Let's go eat pancakes. And he's like, I'm not in the mood for pancakes. But I feel like she suggested it because she's trying to get on his good side. And she's like, but you love pancakes. Let's go to the location that you want to go to. And he's like, no, because I think Eun-sung's going to be there. So we shouldn't go there. And she's like, why would she be there? Da, 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 da. Turns out they're there. And they're with Chan-young. So she ends up blowing their spot, sits there, intrudes their breakfast. After Eun-sung and Kim Tan caught eyes and stared at each other for a second, they didn't really do much of that camera trick there. Good. But she ends up like they're all sitting there and she's pointing out how Lee Bona used to be Kim Tan's girlfriend and how Chan Young's the current girlfriend and saying how they're connected and also pointing out that Eun-sung likes to hang out with men that are taken to make Eun-sung feels bad and then they ended up leaving. But I don't understand why does Kim Tan allow her to be such a bee this whole time and allowing her to speak to them that way. Mind you, also Chan Young knows her and they never spoke to each other and she ends up saying we're in another level. He's a lower class. I don't associate with those people. But she doesn't mind like chatting up with Eun-sung like at all. Finally, Kim Tan decides to pull this bee aside because she's acting a fool, being totally to everybody. And he's like reminding her like, oh, I remember when you were this age when I used to look up to you and admire you because you were this and that. You spoke English, Japanese, you were smart, you were, really cool. But you used to mock me and say, you like my brother and I was just a baby and whatnot. And he basically like put her in her place. He's like, back then I admired you and I looked up to you. Right now I can't even look at the person that you are. And if you're acting this way because of me, just don't do that. And I was like, tell her. So she ends up going back to the hotel. And who does she bump into? Kim Won. Just after hearing the story how she used to like him, does she still like him? Does he like her? Like, I want to know. Is this the reason why he sent her away? Because they were engaged or something? Or they were meant to be engaged or something? Like, whatever. This is me just assuming things. They bump into each other and he's like on his way somewhere. And she's like, oh, can I come with? He's like, well, it's going to be very boring and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I don't care. Obviously, Kim Won's visiting his mom. So we finally have a response of what happened to his mom. She passed away. And he was saying how she was from, the countryside and being with his father and everything caused her to die and whatnot. I guess all the stress and tension. And here they are connecting. And he's like, she said Kim Tan would be so jealous right now. And he's like, what, of you? No, of me? Like, for being with her? And she's like, no, of me. Meaning, he obviously wants to spend time with you, Kim Won. Stop being a douche. Your little brother loves you so much. So Mr. Yoon is getting on the elevator. And who does he bump into? Who joins him in the elevator? Young-doo's dad and Rachel Yu's mom. And Young-doo's dad's up front. Rachel Yu's in the back, close to Mr. Yoon. And she's like eyeing him, like, and he's not even looking at her. So I'm like, Ooh, they have relationship, love triangles for the adults too. Exciting. Everyone has a secret. Oh my god, how do these people stay young with all this drama? Like, seriously. So, Youngdoo's dad gets off first, and then they get off on the next, I guess, floor, and he's about to get off, and she's like, oh, see, 20 years ago it wasn't you, and now it's not me. And he's like, alright, well, whatever. And she's like, you know what's so funny? Every time I see you, my heart races. He's like, well, I hope after this marriage your heart races too. So I guess he wanted to be with her. But seeing how she looks like a gold digging kind of girl, that's how it ends. I'm assuming she's gold digging because she's just marrying for like financial status. That's what it ends up looking like. Alright? Kim Tan talks to Mr. Yoon and somehow connects, well, because Mr. Yoon mentioned, so I heard you met my son. He's like, your son? He's like, what? He's like, oh, Chanyoung's your son? Boom, he made the connection there, and he figured out why Chanyoung does not like him, obviously. And he ends up calling, Kim Tan ends up calling Chanyoung and asking, like, I need to speak to Eun-sang. He's like, you can leave a message. He's like, no, I'm going to talk to her, so have her call me back. So they clicked, and unlike Kim Tan, Chanyoung relayed the message right away to Eun-sang to call him back. But she said there's no point since they're not going to talk and see each other anymore, and she's going back to Korea. So Kim Tan's miserable all day. He's looking at his phone in the pool. He's sad and miserable because he wants to talk to her. And so we see Eun-sang in the campus, in Kim Tan's campus, and she ends up putting a message up. What did it say? It was like a midsummer night's dream. I'll be disappearing now. Like last night's dream. Goodbye. So, eventually he'll see this when he goes to school. Han, who picked up Rachel Yu to escort her to the airport, and she's asking him, like, when will you come back to Korea? Are you coming back? He's like, I will. Once I'm brave enough to. And she's like, brave enough to. So I'm guessing, like, no one really understands the tension. No one knows that obviously that he's an illegitimate child. Like, Rachel Yu didn't figure out why Kim Won isn't really nice to his brother. I don't think she even knows that he's mean to Kim Tan. She doesn't understand that nobody wants him back over there other than Madam Han, the legit mother. And she hugs him and she's like, I'm so angry at you and whatnot. So they're hugging. Well, she's hugging him. He was about to hug her, but he kept his hands in his pocket. Still he's being hugged, you know? And guess who's coming in the airport at the right time to catch this? Eun-sang. And she's just kind of like staring. And she's about to turn around and she started walking away. And of course he sees her and he yells while he's getting hugged by his fiance, Jung-sang, stay right there. Da 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 da. And that's where the scene stops. Like, and Rachel Yu lets go and looks. And I'm like, duh, duh, duh. I would be so pissed if I was Rachel Yu if that was happening. And Cha-eun-sung's probably pissed because she sees Rachel Yu hugging Kim Tan. But you know what? She'd even call him back.